I want to read the piece out of my little self-care card deck and guidebook here because it has a really good section on emotions. Actually, no, I'm going to read the whole self-care part. Guys, bear with me because you're probably going to get a couple minutes of reading, okay? But please, tune in, and if you catch something and want to try to write a piece of what I said, feel free to throw it in the chat to be like, ooh, this line. Okay. If self-care is so good, why does it feel so hard to actually do? If self-care is such an important part of maintaining well-being and integral to becoming more conscious, intentional humans, then why does it feel so hard to actually incorporate into our lives? It turns out that, as with many aspects of being human, our relationship with our needs and our fears is paradoxical. Our deepest desires are often reflected back to us by our most challenging shadows. We tend to run from what we need and escape towards outlets that end up draining rather than filling us up. This is nothing to feel shamed about, but rather something to learn how to notice as you move forward. Naming common stumbling blocks can be helpful in moving past them. Here are a few to consider. Resistance. What's hard? In the psychological realm, resistance refers to the human tendency to push back against something that could actually lead you toward a desired state or goal. Perverse as this may be, attaining our wishes can be frightening. What happens if I get what I want and I'm still not happy? The mind wonders, often unconsciously. Other times, we resist processes that, while having the potential to lead us towards a desired outcome, involve a challenge or obstacle we perceive as unpleasant. An example of this would be having a conversation with a coworker in order to clear up an understanding. While it may lead towards resolution of conflict, thereby reducing stress, the conversation itself may be difficult, which is an obstacle we'd rather avoid. How to free yourself. The first step in overcoming resistance to any part of a self-care practice is simply noticing it exists. If you find yourself constantly wishing you had more time to yourself, but you never seem to make the time for it, recognizing this paradox allows you to name it, and naming it allows you to consciously consider what it would take to change it. Remember, be patient with yourself. Moving past resistance points takes time. But being aware and conscious of your patterns is the only way you will ever begin this process. JK, I think it's calling out everyone. Emotions. What's hard? We are emotional beings in flux at all times. Our moods and inner states can shift not only from day to day, but also moment to moment, and can be influenced by both internal factors like thoughts and bodily sensations, as well as external forces. Other people, relationships, our environment, and the circumstances placed upon us by our current situation. In addition to this, we are also capable of experiencing multiple emotions at the same time, even those that are seemingly contradictory. An example of this is that we might feel both happy and sad about the same event, such as starting a new job. When we live inside such flux, it can be difficult to know how we truly feel about anything. The idea of getting to know yourself better through self-care can seem utterly impossible. Sometimes we simply don't know what will make us feel good or bad. How to free yourself. Consider your feelings as tools to broaden your understanding of your life rather than final or ultimate truth tellers. The most unchanging element of life is change itself. Human emotion is the embodiment of flow. Allow yourself to experience it like one would experience the ocean, without judgment. Like waves, our feelings always point towards something beneath them. Often this is the kernel of truth we are seeking. Denying emotions, or, on the flip side, giving them too much weight in our experience, takes away from their power as teachers and messengers. Like ripples coursing over the ocean's surface, emotions move quickly. Learn to watch them as one watches waves. Allow yourself to be curious about what they are telling you and nothing more. The more thoughtful attention you cultivate, the more you will notice that your feelings will always change. This realization is a safe haven amid the waves within us. Got a little bit more here, guys. Consciousness can be painful. What's hard? We are full of limiting ideas about ourselves. These often take the form of value judgments. I'm not good at that, or I'm not a technical person, or I'm not a creative person. Letting go of these ideas can be painful, especially if we put a lot of time and effort into upholding them. We tend to craft our personas and personalities around limiting beliefs so that we can define ourselves to others in the world at large. And while there is no doubt that limits can be useful in some respects, while held on to too tightly, they prevent us from exploring possibilities within ourselves that may lead to greater self-understanding and personal evolution. How to free yourself. The first step, again, is just to recognize your judgments about who or how you are. Name the limiting belief. Pretend it's an object, something outside of you that you can hold in your hands. Turn it over, observe it. Don't try to understand it, just see it for what it is, an idea. The belief about yourself is not you, it is just an idea. You can then choose what you want to do with it. And the last one, cultural mores. What's hard? Western cultures tend to measure success with productivity and outward manifestations of work. This pertains to the realms of resource access and accumulation, outward and recognizable accomplishments, and to-do lists with their neat lines of check marks. Contrary to this system, self-care exists as a process, a ritual, and an evolving relationship with the self. As such, it does not provide many widely accepted markers of achievement. Inner peace is not measurable by others. Self-love is not a prize one can hang on their door, and therefore our society doesn't often reward taking this important time for ourselves. Even worse is the pervasive and largely unconscious internalization of these values that can prevent us from feeling like engaging in self-care is even a worthwhile endeavor. How to free yourself. Remind yourself that your innate value is not determined by the outward trappings of your life or the situation you were born into. Take a moment to identify the belief systems and societal structures around you that may try to mold, pull, and push you into different versions of themselves. These are very real forces and difficult to withstand. And while many people don't want to completely disengage from them, returning to the idea that your value is inherent on a basic existential level is imperative to allowing yourself the space and time to commit to practices of self-awareness and self-care. Okay.